Hello there, YouTube. This is James Royce-Dawson here, and I try to generally keep this channel a little bit apolitical. You'll hear stuff slip out generally in the podcast and whatever, but for some reason I just saw an article and I think it just sent me a little bit over the edge. So I don't know why this needs to be political, but yeah, here's the article.
It's gonna be the future soon. Never seen it quite so clear. When my heart is breaking, I can close my eyes. It's already here.
Okay. Lot of stuff to unpack there. Okay. So, for those of you who weren't aware, Star Trek has a new series come out called Star Trek Discovery. It's going to be coming out later this year. It'll be on Netflix and CBS. And it's going to be set 10 years before Kirk and Spock were born, I guess. So technically set in before the timeline split off. So technically it could account for both the pre-reboot timeline and this timeline. And there's been a lot of stink made about it ever since it was announced, because when they first announced it, they admitted that there was going to be the first openly gay character in it. And now we've got a trailer for it. It looks visually very good. We can get into story stuff later, but a lot of people are apparently angry at it. Not for any story details, not for anything that they changed, not for any of the, visuals or story or any of that. It's because it's SJW propaganda. Star Trek has always been left-wing. I don't know what show you've been watching for the last, 50 years, but this show has always been left-wing. It started out with a crew that was the most diverse cast of characters that you would have seen on TV at that time, and had one of the first interracial kisses on TV. I guarantee you, if these people had been born in the 1960s, or before that, watching Star Trek at that time, they would be the kind of people that would be arguing about that interracial kiss. Now, in this series, the complaint seems to be that the main character is a black woman, that there is an openly gay character, that there is an Asian woman who is captain, and that there aren't too many white men, and that is a problem, and that the white men involved are a Vulcan and the helmsman, who is described by at least one tweet as wimpy. Okay, so let's get into that thing, and this feeds into the white genocide theory. Okay, I deign to call it a theory. It's not. It is barely a hypothesis, but you may not have heard of it, humble viewers, so let me unpack it for you. White genocide is basically this idea on the right wing where, because of increased immigration and decreased birth rates of European white people and American white people, it means that in a few generations, through miscegenation, interracial relationships, there will eventually be no white people, or at least that they'll be in a minority by the end of the century. That's not entirely wrong. That's gonna happen. White people generally have gotten lower birth rates. We're not even reaching replacement levels in some places. So yeah, that's happening. And yeah, interracial relationships are happening. So yeah, it's likely that my grandkids, my great-grandkids, are gonna be quite a few shades darker than this pale ghost that I am. What they miss in the theory is any kind of reason to be upset about this other than overt fucking racism. It is just horrendously racist, and I've not heard a single argument as to why white genocide, it's emotive language, I'll give you that, but any other reason why it would be a problem other than racism, I haven't heard it. Now, if you wanted to argue of European ideals being drowned out by the increased despotism in some countries, and I'd still disagree with you if you wanted to say that immigration was causing a problem there, but you'd at least have half an argument. This idea of white genocide, no, not a problem. And the other side of the argument that they offer is that because media is increasingly showing minority people in positions of power and as main characters, that is somehow reducing the self-esteem of the white race, if that's a thing. And it's hilarious to me. It shows such horrendous insecurity on the part of the people making these kind of arguments that they get this angry because there is a black person in Star Trek as one of the main characters. That is a problem for them. That they see that and they get angry because they think it's an attack on them. And it shows an interesting counterpoint, because they get angry that there's a white person being represented in a position of weakness, and they're the token white person. And yet they don't seem to realize that this is the exact argument that a lot of minority people have been making for years, that the only roles that they get are bad representation, and that they want more representation in other roles. And like, now that that's happening, just a tad, just a little bit to white people, these people flip their shit. They go mad about it. They get so fucking angry. And there is one show where Whitey isn't on top, where it's not Picard, it's not Kirk, it's not even Cisco, it's a black woman and an Asian woman. Just sip of water, I'm so angry. It's a political series. It's a political thesis as a TV show, and it was entirely meant in the 60s to show what humanity could be, that we could all just get along and not think about melanin levels as being, or nationality as a big problem. And just the fact that people are watching this Star Trek trailer and thinking about race and nationality as a major problem, I don't think that they're fans, because this is another thing, like, people get angry at this. I don't think that they're fans. Like, some of them are saying, oh, I love Star Trek, but I hate this. It betrays a mentality that I think they just, either they watched Star Trek as a kid and didn't think about the politics, and now just realise that there's politics in there and they're angry, or they're just using this as a prop to propagate their own ideas. Now, I am an actual Star Trek fan. I've watched all of the series. I love pretty much all of them to some degree, except Enterprise. I think we can all agree on that. But because this is the internet, positivity won't get you very far. So to prevent losing your attention, I guess I should give some negativity towards Star Trek, because I don't think that it's perfect. At least the new series, that new trailer. I do have my own misgivings with it, but it's a little more nuanced. I think that it's a little weird for us to have another half-human, half-Vulcan character who's struggling with their identity. I thought that was like Spock's. We had like an entire movie trilogy focusing on Spock with that whole thing, so I think that's a bit overused. The special effects, while good, looks like a bit too much focus on action, and I don't want that to be the case. I love Star Trek because of the political debates between characters. I love Picard's speeches, I love Cisco, machinations, all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that makes Star Trek interesting, so I'm hoping it's not too action-packed, especially since it's only got about, I forget, like 10, 12 episodes. Like, it's one of the new shorter series, sort of like what Netflix is doing, and that might not be enough room for a very detailed political series, but as long as it's week-to-week story going on, maybe it's good. And yeah, I didn't see any great acting from the trailer, so I don't know what to make of that. I didn't see much for the crew dynamic. I heard some people saying that they didn't even show the main ship, the Discovery, in the trailer. It was all stuff from the first episode before the ship even comes in, so not much information there. There's also the point that it's another prequel series set before the original series, and I personally would prefer it if we actually went forward in the Star Trek universe. I know that would be a bit difficult because of all the splitting timelines. Would you set it in the original timeline? Would you set it in the reboot timeline? If you set it in the reboot timeline, what does that change about Picard and that whole era? Does the Dominion War still happen? In what way? But I would really love it if we could see the future past all of that, maybe set in the 25th or even 26th century, just seeing an even further future where we could add new technology that might be closer to today's technology. A lot of stuff that has happened since those series were released in the 90s and early 2000s, we've kind of caught up with Star Trek in some places, and it would be really cool to see a new series set in the further future where they tackle the sort of issues that we're facing today. That would be really interesting to see, but we're not going to get to see that because this is once again set even before the original series, so we know what the technology is going to be like, and we know that not too much can happen really to the galaxy. We're not going to have the Borg or the Dominion or any enemy like that, because there's already recorded history of what that era of Star Trek was meant to be like. I'm sure there'll still be a good story, but it's a big missed opportunity in my opinion. I think that it's possible the show may suck for those reasons, but I'm an actual fan who complains about story problems and doesn't lose his shit because the main character's melanin levels are not exactly as I would like. I actually have genuine story concerns as a Star Trek fan. Now, we can argue about those, and I'll be happy to do that, But as soon as you start saying white genocide, you lose me. Everything's wrong. So yeah, thanks for listening to that rant, YouTube. Thanks for watching. Check out my Patreon if you'd like. This is James Royce-Dawson, signing off.